plane. So guys, help me out with this right here. How about volunteer to read my definition up here?
The intersection of a horizontal number line and a vertical.
Okay, and right over here we've kind of got a picture of it. So if you guys want to make sure you put a star or highlight this, I'm going to put down here that really what you need to know about a coordinate plane, everything is right in here for you. And what I want to do is a lot of the terms that I'm going to talk about down here below that first definition, we're going to kind of refer to what they look like up here in the one that I highlighted, all right? So, Terrence says it's the intersection of a horizontal number line and a vertical number line, which we've already taken a look at everything here today. But, guys, if you look at this right here, can you see where these two lines are up here? The horizontal and the vertical line right here? Everybody see that in their notes that they've got in front of them? Okay. First definition about the coordinate plane is the x-axis, and it says the x-axis is the what? The horizontal axis. So you guys can all see the horizontal axis clearly labeled right up here, can't you? Everybody see that? You guys good there? Okay. So that's the one that runs from, and I might want to jot this down, the horizontal axis is the one that's going to run from left to what? Right. Right. Okay. Okay, so then if the horizontal axis is going to run left to right, what's that mean about the vertical axis? Or in other words, the y-axis. It's the vertical axis, all right? And they kind of label that for you right here. They said there's the y-axis, and that's just going to run up and down. Should have put arrows down there. Okay, but you get it, up and down, right? Okay. Then the next term right here, origin. The origin says it's the point what comma what, guys?
0, 0.
0, comma 0. It's the point where the two axes do what? Intersect. You guys see where they've labeled origin right up here of 0, 0? It's this point right
Here.
there, isn't it? Okay, that's the point 0. That's like where everything starts from, originates from. That's where the word origin comes from. That's where all these points originate from, or your reference point. Okay. Quadrants. Quadrants are basically going to be any of the four parts that the two intersecting lines form. So up here you have a quadrant 1. Okay. I don't know why they use Roman numerals. We're not Roman, but everybody knows this is quadrant what right here? 2. Quadrant 3, and over here is the fourth quadrant. Okay. And guys, a point can land either on an axis or within any of those quadrants right there, but the point that we're going to be talking an awful lot about is considered, you're going to hear me use the phrase, what am I pointing at right here?
Ordered pair.
Ordered pair all the time. Ordered pairs are always going to be written in this form. Whoops. Ordered pairs will always be written in this form. X, comma, y. So guys, which variable is listed first, the x or the y? X's. Okay. The x-axis right up here said it's the horizontal axis, so work what to what?
Left to right.
Left to right. So guys, when you're doing stuff today, when you're doing stuff for ordered pairs, you'll always want to consider, I wish this would not do this to me. Okay, when you are doing this, you always want to consider the fact that you're working with x values first, okay? And the x-coordinate is going to be the first number of an ordered pair right here, okay? So the coordinate, or the part of the coordinate that you want to find first is the x-coordinate. So you're always doing the x-coordinate first, which means you're moving which direction from the origin? Up and down or left and right? Okay, the first thing you're going to do is move left or right, okay? Then the y-coordinate is going to be the second number of an ordered pair. So after you move left or right, from there you're going to proceed to move
Up and down.
up or
Down.
down. Okay, so you'll do the second, in which case you're either moving up or you're moving down. And we'll look at some examples here in a second. And then finally, the last thing you have up here is called a scatterplot. And a scatterplot simply is going to be a graph formed by multiple plotted points. You're going to have a lot of points plotted. We're going to have some labels for those graphs, and given the information within those situations, which we'll look at in a second, you're going to try and come up with some kind of inference about that or some kind of a statement as to what it is you're trying to get out of those collection of points. All right? So before I move on to the second page, any questions about what a coordinate plane is? Just show of hands. How many have at least seen one before? Okay. This is a really good reference right up here. I would say this part right up here at the very top that we highlighted at the very beginning, refer to that if you get lost or get stuck on anything. Okay. Questions about the first page at all, gang? All right, let's move to the second page then and take a look at some examples and see if we can't figure this out today. All right. Example 1, naming points in the coordinate plane. And I'm just going to kind of arbitrarily pick some points up here for A, B, C, and D. But the directions say give the coordinates of the point. Okay? We're going to give the coordinates of the point as an ordered pair. So up by this example 1, we're going to say maybe something like this. We're going to write them in the form of some value for x and then some value for, let's say, y, like that. Okay? Now I'm going to zoom in here a tad bit. All right? And I'm going to pick some points for letter A, B, C, and D, but let's just say that letter A is going to be, oh, I don't know. We'll put it right here. I'm going to call this point A. All right, so you guys take a second and plot that. So guys, within our coordinate plane, I'm going to ask you some questions about this. All right? And the first thing that I want to know is, what's the location of this point? In other words, what would the ordered pair for this point be? Anybody think they've got an idea what that might be? Allie?
-3, 2.
Okay, so Allie's saying -3, 2. How many would agree there? Okay, Allie, explain your reasoning for me.
Because you start from the center, and then you go over 3, and then up 2.
So you're saying start here. And as you move left 3, what type of directional movement is that on a number line? Positive or negative? Yep. So it'd be negative. So she's saying the x value is at -3. And I'm going to write it just like this, -3, comma. All right, and then from there, she went up how many units?
2.
Okay, so it was left 3 and up 2. All right? Therefore, that makes that coordinate -3, 2. What if I took this a step further and said, hey, guys, what quadrant does that point lie in then?
2.
First, second, third, or fourth? What'd you say, Chelsea?
2.
2. How many would say 2? Okay, very good. All right, I'll pick B. Pick B.
Wait.
I'm sorry, I'll get a different color. Do you have a question, Taryn?
Yeah, how do you know if it's positive 1 or 2?
Okay, if I go back to your front page of your notes, we were located right in this section, right? Which is quadrant number, good there. See how referring to that might be a good idea. All right. Okay, let's try a B. Raise your hand when you know the point, or the ordered pair for that point. And I should probably do a better job of labeling, because we're going to call this point B. So get that plotted on your notes. See if you guys agree. All right, how about a coordinate there, kiddos?
2,
2, 4. Give me a show of hands. How many agree with that? Okay, Taryn says 2, 4. Looks like we all agree. Taryn, again, what direction do I move first?
you move 2 to the right
2 to the right.
or up.
So +2 since we moved right. And then since we're moving up, that would be what kind of a movement in terms of up and down, guys? Or think of it as a temperature. Be a positive, wouldn't it? So 2, 4. All right, real quickly, I'm going to plot C and D, and you're going to do those two on your own. Let's put C right down here. And give me some room here. Whoops. I'm going to put D right here. You guys go ahead and take a second, plot those, and then what I'd like you to do is to come up with an ordered pair for those 2 points. After you've got those points, please check with a neighbor and see if you agree. If you disagree, what's your rule? You got to compare them, okay? Or talk about why you disagree, okay? Get everybody on the same page. So help your peers out. So take a second and do that. Again, once you've got them, check with a neighbor, all right? Raise your hand when you're done so I know that everybody's ready to roll on these. You guys all agreeing right now, it looks like? Sure? You're so confident about this you don't need to talk? Simply a matter of counting. Someone I haven't heard for. C. What's the ordered pair for C? Who's got it? Chelsea, have you got it?
-4, -3.
-4, -3. I agree. Okay. Now, I can't see D up here right now, but who's got the point for D? Maddie?
5, positive 5, negative 5.
So yeah, be careful on that. We have to go right 5 and then down 5 first, right? So 5 comma negative 5. Okay. So guys, if I ask you to give me an ordered pair for an identified point within the coordinate plane, can you write that in x comma y form for me? It's pretty simple, isn't it? Big idea here. Move what directions first from the origin? Left or? Keeping in mind, if I go right, that's a positive movement. Left would be a negative movement, and then up or down. Obviously, up is positive, down is negative. Okay, it's just like the Bears moved up in the standings, the Vikings moved down. All right. Okay. Questions about that part of it? All right. Plotting points then. Just doing the opposite. I'm going to say, hey. Here's the points. I want you to plot them, and then after you plot them, it says to identify what, gang? When I say identify their location, they can either be in a quadrant. How many quadrants are there? 4. All right. They can either be in a quadrant, or they might lie on an x-axis or a y-axis. I'm going to have you guys take a minute. I just want to see what you come up with for this part right here. So in example 2 here, go ahead and see what you come up with. All right. Plot these points. And we'll just label the points the same as the letter here. We'll label this point A. This will be your point B. And over here will be your point C. So take a minute and try and plot those, and then identify which quadrant or axis you think that they lie on or lie in. And then we'll talk about this. So take a minute and do that, please. As I'm walking around, these look pretty good already. Find it there, John?
I can't find it.
So what's the point say? It says it's right 1, and then down much. Yeah, you got it plotted right. Okay. Now, if you guys aren't sure on identifying location, hang on for a second. We'll discuss that. Okay. Anybody need more time? First of all, plotting the points. Okay. All right, done or not? Let's go ahead and roll. Guys, this is the first point, 2 comma 3. How do I get there?
Go to the right 2 and up 3.
No, right 2 and up 3. So right 2 and up 3. Everybody agree? Okay, this will be the point A. Now guys, question. Is that point located in a quadrant or on an axis?
Quadrant.
It's in a quadrant. It's in a specific part of the 4 parts formed by the intersection of the x and y axis. So is that in quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? Quadrant 1. So all I might put up here is Q1 to say, you know what, that's in quadrant 1. And I'm not going to use Roman numerals because I'm not Roman. All right? How do you get to negative 4 comma 0?
Just
What are you going to do, Maddie?
You're gonna go left 4.
Left 4. Do I go up or down at all?
Nope.
Okay, this one's kind of a tricky one, and I want to make sure you understand location for this. Guys, that location is not in a quadrant anymore, is it?
It's on an axis.
It's on an axis. Specifically, which axis?
X-axis.
It's on the x-axis. So I just want you to write down that that is right on the x-axis. You bet. All right, and then finally, 1 comma negative 3. How do I get there? Right or left, first of all, gang?
Right.
Right. How many units?
1.
And then down
3.
3. Okay, so this would be my point C. So I think we've got a really good handle on this. Right 1, down 3, and talk to me about my location there. Quadrant 4. You bet, gang. Excellent work. Okay. Second page, questions at all. Let me know that you've got all that down here real quickly. This half of the room okay? How about the far half here? All good? Any questions so far? All right. Johnny, got a question? Got everything down, kiddo? All right, very good. Everybody's ready to move? Okay, guys, what I'm going to talk about here in the next one, this doesn't show up here well on the board, but you've got an excellent copy in your notes of this, but I really want to talk about what's going on here. Guys, example 3 is going to be a situation where you're going to use plotting points to form a scatter plot, okay? And I'll kind of zoom in this. You guys have that in front of you in your notes, right? I got to read this first. Okay. Example 3 says making a scatter plot. Now, down below, they give you a scenario about what's going on. It might be a true scenario. It might be a false scenario. Okay, this one might be kind of far-fetched. But it said the number of hours you spent studying for 5 different math tests and the score you got on each test is given in a table. It says to make a scatter plot of the data and describe any relationships that you see. Okay? Now, I can understand the first point here realistically. It says the number of hours you spent studying for a test was what here, guys? 1 hour. And we're going to assume these test scores to be a percent. Okay? So if you took 1 hour to study for that first test, what was your score? 55. And what I'm going to say right here is this. This point down here is kind of like the origin. This point down here at the very bottom is like the origin, 0, 0 in the scatter plot that I've given you of this information. Guys, what quadrant are all my points really lying in then? If I'm not looking at the whole coordinate plane, I'm kind of looking at part of the coordinate plane. If this is 0, 0 down here, and this is my x-axis going this direction, and this is my y-axis going this direction, which quadrant are really all my points lying in? First, second, third, or fourth? Quadrant 1, says Lily, okay? And the first point they said, if I spend 1 hour here, I get this score of 55, okay? Now, I didn't like 55%, so I might have studied more. I might have studied for how many hours?
3.
What's it say up here in the table? 3 hours got you a score of what? 78% up here in the table. So they went ahead and plotted that point over here. Over here is 3 hours, and then up here is that score, right, guys? You got bold and studied for how many hours? Studied for 4 and got 86. My gosh, 4 hours of studying. That's half a work day already. Okay. You studied another 4 hours for the fourth test. What was that score?
89.
89. And then finally studied for 5 hours. What was your score?
98.
Okay. Now, guys, really all they've done is they went over 5 units to the right, and then they got a score of 98 on it. All those points are plotted for you already. Is that correct? Okay. I understand that you can go ahead and plot points. I understand that that's easy to do. What I want you to make sense of today is this. How does plotting points relate to a situation like this? In other words, we use that data from the table to come up with a scatter plot, if you will, or a collection of points that we plotted. And our job is to say, okay, we're looking at some of the math tests that we've taken in a class. And down here below, we're talking about the number of hours you studied compared to your test score. Okay? Do you guys see any relationships that correlate the, or I should say relate the number of hours you studied to your score that you got on your test? Is there something that you could say about that table that would make sense based on the plots that you have up there? What could you say? Maddie, what are you thinking, kiddo?
Like how much you went up from each test.
Okay, so your scores went up from test to test. Do you guys all agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe I should relate it as like a cause and effect type thing. Okay. Maddie, if I said, great, that's awesome, your scores went up, my next question would be, why do you think your scores went up?
Because I've increased the hours of studying.
So you're saying something like this, as my hours of studying did what? Increased. That was reflected in increased test scores. Do you agree with that? Okay, so that's what we're kind of looking at a scatter plot. You might say something like, as the number of hours that I study increases, guys, isn't the x-axis our label for hours studied? We would say as the number of hours does what? increases, right? Did my scores go up or down as I went from left to right? As I moved left to right, are my scores going up or down? They're moving up, aren't they? That's what this regression line is in here for. All right? Moving up. Test scores are moving up. So Maddie's relationship, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong phrasing this, but I think Maddie's saying as the number, and I'll abbreviate some stuff up here, as the number of hours of studying increased, the scores on the test did what?
I still need to write all this down.
Yep, and I'll leave it up here for you, John. I'm saying so far to this point, as the number of hours of studying increased, the test scores on the test went up. Okay?
Could you like use this for money too?
You can use this for money. And, you know, as an example, it's a great question. Could I use this for money? Maddie, here's the question. Think about the number of hours people work. Obviously, the more hours people work, the more money they have. I might relate it to money in terms of my wife. She loves to shop. The more hours she shops,
The more money she
the
spends.
less money you're going to have. So if my wife's graph was up there for shopping, it would probably start high with money and probably do what over time?
Decrease.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
spends
That
your
would go
money
down
that
very
you get.
quickly if she said
It might go below the x-axis sometimes.
She's in the negative.
Yep. That's all right. We live our life in the red. It's okay. They haven't thrown me in prison yet.
But someday they will. Not today.
Do you guys, if I give you a graph, can you make some kind of a statement?
Yeah.
No.
The idea is that you're comparing whatever your label is on the x-axis with the label on the right axis. So you're going to say as the x-axis, whatever that label is, increases, the y-axis label is either going to increase, decrease, or probably, could it be a flat line like that?
Yeah.
Is that a possibility as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Because say you only study 1 hour of the test each time, it could have just stayed that.
Very true. Very true.
I don't get how you get the percentages though. That's the only thing.
Well, that was data that was given to us. It
Okay.
was a table. It was a hypothetical situation.
Okay.
So you're going to see stuff on the assignment today, Maddie, where they give you all that information.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay. Notes-wise, any questions? Does everybody have everything down? Okay, well that's good. All right. What I want to do is get you an assignment here. So give me a second to close this out.